All right. Welcome to the session. Welcome to a new edition of the session. And I'm your host, or your master of ceremonies for this evening, Jonathan Coleman of the Media Blast PR, your publicist, PR specialist number one. And tonight we have Ty Bru, and I'm going to bring him on and we're going to get this going.
Word up.
Yes. Ty Bru, welcome to the session.
Yeah, appreciate the invite and appreciate the hospitality as always.
Yes. I appreciate your time, man. I know you busy. We both busy, and I'm glad we busy ain't even the word.
Right. When busy people get together, they make each other understand that we can both be busy right now at the same time. So now we can be busy at the same time.
Exactly.
Mutually busy, but not getting busy. It's different.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, yes, definitely. Well, you know it, or not just productive. That's what it.
Yeah,
productive.
Yeah, that's better. I might have to transition to use that word now.
Definitely. True indeed.
Oh man.
Definitely, Ty Bru. Well, welcome to the session. Before I get into all the stuff we're going to talk about, I want you to just introduce yourself first, and then we're going to get into it. But also, before you do that, everybody that's on here right now, like, share, do all of that. Wherever you're from, click that like button, click the love button, react to it. You can even put an angry face on it if you want to. Like, who are these motherfuckers? And put an angry face. You're welcome to do it.
We'll chase them down. We will chase them down.
Yes, definitely. Oh, yeah.
I'm going to search for somebody right now as we speak anyway, not from the last time.
Yeah.
You got to find out who this dude is.
Exactly.
Name's Ty Bru. Asheboro, North Carolina native. Family roots from Pennsylvania, New York. I'm the first Southern boy that was born in my family. I like to say that a lot so people understand that just because I'm from the South doesn't mean I was raised with that mentality. So I'm kind of confused when it comes to things and really grasp towards the mentality of my entire family, except for me, pretty much. So with that being said, it brought me a unique and eclectic upbringing, and I dove into many facets of art at a very early age. Was very aware of my community, very aware of arts, and the possibilities of using that as / coping mechanisms and therapy of sorts. So that's kind of in a nutshell what's going on.
Oh yes, definitely. We're going to do a deep dive into many things, and definitely thank you for that introduction.
Yes.
If you guys have any questions or comments, definitely drop them in the comment section. If you have any questions, and I know many of you will have questions, because in this session we want you to leave with something. It's not just for entertainment, but it's also for you guys to grasp something. And Ty Bru has been in this game, although he's doing the 20th anniversary of the Mightier than the Sword brand. It's coming up on Memorial Day. We'll talk about more of that later. He's been in the game longer than 20 years. It's been longer than 20, but he has a lot of wisdom. He has a lot to share. And actually, I'm going to be honest with you. I learned a lot of stuff from working with Ty. I learned things about how to be better at my business, because for all y'all listening, in my early days, I made a lot of my mistakes with Ty. So the new artists and the new clients that I got after him, I knew what not to do, what to do better. So, and I really thank you, Ty, for the opportunity,
Word. And likewise, man, I think we learned a whole lot in that whole process. And still came out on top, and being friends and communicating and all that. That's very important. Time and experience really helps solidify the foundation of a friendship that was always there. The mistakes are continue to be made on my end in different aspects, but we really get more strong and more knowledgeable and more confident on those next steps, because we know what not to do, like you just said. And the next step might not be what we should do, but we're going to try it, because we don't know yet until we go through with it. So definitely, yeah, knowing you for, almost that whole 20-year process, pretty much, of Mightier Than the Sword. So you've known me just as long as Eddie Ruger has, but not as long as Westifer and in the Massies and all them. But yeah, you know me a while.
Yes, it's been a while, man. And definitely shout out to Westifer, Eddie Ruger, and like I say, Creep the King and your Asheboro clique.
Yeah, man. He's also got a son about my oldest son's age. So we became fathers around the same time, and of course that kind of leaves us with no time for that hanging out. So I saw him last year is the last time I saw him for Creep's brothers got twins, and it was their birthday party. They live right below the border in Charlotte, right in South Carolina. So we got to see them and chit chat with them a little bit. But yeah, he was an integral part of that initial MTTS movement.
Yes, definitely. Now, I had an order in which I wanted to do it, but I want to transition smoothly because we're already talking about the early days.
Okay.
And I want to ask, like, a lot of those artists. Well, first of all, Mightier Than the Sword is more than just a record label, a whole full-scale entertainment company. And I know Ty Bru is going to get into the different facets and the inner workings of it. But as far as the label part of it, I remember the early days. You had a good roster. Blame it on the brain, not the heart, on the artist. I know Medic, I believe, a gentleman named Medic. And you had different. Now, are all those artists, are they still with you? I know it's been so long, or are they still making music? What was the?
Some yes and some no. During the height of the music, the label part of it, we had almost 100 people that were either artists, management. We were managing bands and putting out records with bands, and so there was a point where there was that many people, and we were moving product and we were moving CDs and we were creating and making and putting on the events and being on shows. And then right around that heightened point of it, of course, everybody gets overwhelmed, especially me. And then that's when I started getting those big opportunities in China. So when that started happening was like kind of how things started kind of dissolving. We never renegotiated any more albums. So some people we definitely already knew we were going to make more records whenever that time came, but we never put like an expiration date on the albums. So fast forward, we kind of did all our all the things that we have agreed upon except for Marshall Alexander, which was one of the later editions. We still have a couple of his records to put out that was in the agreements. So really, I guess to answer your question at this point, we're still putting out records, but basically it's me putting out these records right now. For the past 2 years, it's been just in my albums. But that doesn't mean I'm not working or we don't have plans to release any other albums. We just haven't opened up that the negotiation process or the creative process about how we're going to do it. But I do talk to most of the people that were on on the label at the time. Some people have passed away, unfortunately. Some people have stepped away from music altogether. And when we first got the date for this 20th anniversary, I wanted to make it a point to really to make it almost like a reunion. And then it just began to become just like that. It happened in the height, very overwhelming. How emotionally, how are we going to be? Because we're all a lot older.
Yes.
And some things didn't leave on the best terms and some things left, we didn't know that was the last time we were going to be around each other type stuff, which I guess that's, kind of normal in the industry, quote unquote normal. But Medic, he still records music. He moved to outside of Nashville. Tenacious, he's with the Hypnotic Conquest, which is like a psychedelic band. Philly Fresh is in that band as well. They perform at all these festivals, so that he's still very active. Of course, you're talking about Westifer. He's still super active. He got signed with Cool and Dre, ran out that contract, did songs with Dave East, and did songs with on Fat Joe's last record. Did some stuff with Papoose.
Yes, about to mention that. Yeah,
he did. You keep up with him. He's constant, and he's still my go-to producer. Speaking of producers with the Mightier Than the Sword, I still pull from Scientists in Germany and Westifer are my main guys, and then still I get some from Jay Bryant. Jay Bryant was one of those really slept on artists, and I think we're going all over the place, but it still makes sense. But when we talk about Jay Bryant and Mightier Than the Sword, we talk about this time period that was incredibly shaky in the music scene. It was going from physical to streaming, and like it was starting to go that way. So like this poor guy was on the Boondocks several times. He played Will.i.am's character in the Boondocks, and even television media at that point was like, you never knew that you were going to be able to stream those Boondock shows later on. You had no idea what streaming was. You had no idea what Netflix was. Netflix at that time, you could get the disc sent to your house. So like when we're sitting around making these contracts and pulling them up, we had no idea what we were missing out on. And I don't think the studios did either. The companies didn't either. But still, like, to have those things come out and like him be like on such a high level, and then once that stuff starts flooding the market, nobody knows anything about it. And then you start getting discouraged, and the whole, fingers get pointed. Nobody knows what we're doing. And that really shook the whole label, because, man, we were already having to start re-registering all our stuff that we had put out before, because streaming was starting. And you're putting it on. I think Bandcamp. I don't even know when Bandcamp came around, but Bandcamp was relatively new. And just it was a whole learning go process. And that really stunted our growth, because we just didn't know what to do.
Yes. Oh yeah. Because the internet changing, man. Yeah, because like for all the listeners, for anybody that's a young viewer. This was before. I know a lot of y'all are used to DistroKid and sending a thing and paying your monthly fee and putting it out there. This was before all of that. This was before Spotify. I was there. I mean, Ty Bru had the physical CDs, the On the Brink and all that. We were selling them at the shows and stuff. Physical copies. I know the younger viewers may go, what? You know what I'm saying? But yes, Ty Bru has a lot of knowledge.
It's unfortunate. It was a good time. It was a good time and a bad time, really, because it was that mixtape era too. Like it was that type of situation where a lot of stuff could get on that PIF. That was the streaming site for us, and we knew what that was. We understood that. And then you look at that PIF and you look at Spotify. That's two different monsters in two different ways that you're streaming and putting it out there. But to us, it's like, oh, that's the same thing. Let's only put our mixtapes on Spotify if that's the way it's going to go. So like really, and nobody knew how to teach us that. Even people that, were Spotify, whatever the representatives were that kind of went around to the shows at first and trying to encourage us to do it. I can't remember some of the places. I guess the first time that I really was like, I'm going to do this was with the Musicians Atlas. And I don't even remember. I'm just thinking about that now. I don't even know what happened to that company, if they're still around or not. But they were the first ones to give us that. And then TuneCore came along. And now still we don't know what to do. We really don't know what to do now.
Because music is technically free now. Like a lot of people don't really want to buy it. a lot of physical copies. They don't want to buy digital downloads. They just want to. They got their memberships and they stream. You know.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you're certainly damned if you do, damned if you don't at that point, because you got to have it out there. And I know there's a ton of resilient individuals and artists that are trying to say, like, just get it straight from the site, man. But it's not that easy. You don't have a big fan base to do that.
Yes.
You know, and if you do have a big enough fan base, it's so consolidated in your area that, you know what I'm saying, like you could sell 100 copies digitally at an album release party, but it's not going to go further than that. And if you don't go further than that, the only way you can do that is through streaming at this point. It's such a double-edged sword. And then you run the risk of, you know, even on the reels right now, we're racking our brains and trying to figure out why sometimes our music pops up on reels and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you have to search and type it out exactly like even if it's a capital letter in there before it pops up on reels, and then sometimes it'll just pull it away for no reason. And this is stuff that nobody can teach it. Nobody has the answers for that. And I know we just went on like a whole, but like that was the beginning of that. This change, this curve was detrimental for the label, because before then I had more answers and I knew what to do with it. I knew how to register it, and I knew how to, you know, get them on the BMIs, the ASCAPs, the sound scans, stuff like that. I knew what to do. But once they started, you know, changing the whole game up, it was, and we noticed that from that's the point of the story, that we noticed that when Jay Bryant started getting on Boondocks, and then, you know, Ruger and Dub Killer got on Breaking Bad, and then we got on Black Jesus, and just those type of things. Like we didn't know what we were doing. And you know, and now we do, and we wish we could go back, but it's fine. We still got that on the resume, of course, but that's just that exposure check at this point.
Definitely. And we're going to talk about that as well. We should move into that. To Liba, she's giving us a shout out. We know couldn't be here at this moment, but definitely, you know where you at checking out the show. And she says, yes, sometimes they mute the videos, they mute the reels and stuff.
Yeah, that really drove me crazy, especially during the lockdown, because that was how we did shows, right? So we do these live shows in what we call the basement with Ruger, Philly, myself, and then we did probably 6 of those. But we would get in Philly's basement. He made it look like a club in there. We get on the microphone, we do our set. We'd have it up there. It would go live. By the time we woke up the next day, they had already muted half of it because they said it was a copyright violation.
Oh, yes.
So we had to go in and say, look, we own this music. But at that point, that's 2020, 2021, and the process wasn't as quick as it is now. So like you had to wait. There's still some of those shows that are online right now that are muted out. And it's our music. Like we have to fight the people to make sure that's our music. And if somebody flags it just because they want to be an ass, somebody can flag it, and then it's down. But yeah, they'll mute the videos, or sometimes like when, like even if it's already renewed. So for instance, like TuneCore, I'm still in that TuneCore with some of my singles that go every year. So, for instance, the Stereo Sound, and I think it's Summer Days, both of those were distributed through Island Def Jam, which that was a lengthy contract of time. So I think that was like 20 years that they could distribute it online. But that renews every year. So once it renews, there's a period of time that like if I had Stereo Sound on a reel, they'll rip that off. So the reel's still there, and it says this sound is no longer available. But then when you go in there and try to replace it, you can't do that at this point. So that and that's where the majority of people hear stuff now, is these reels. They hear it, and then they want to share it, they want to add it, they want to click it to their stuff. And if that shit disappears, then it's going to leave somebody a sour taste in their mouth just from that music or that person's reel, one or the other.
Yes, yes, because that's the best way to promote music now is like through the reels, through the lives and stuff like that. And then the streaming companies want to shut that down because they're like, oh, you're streaming it from the reel and from the live, but not from our site. So it's like, and it's your music.
And when it does pop off, for instance, there was one thing that I did, and I put one of my songs where they would let you remix a reel. You know what I'm saying? And there was a really cool, I think it was a Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen clip. I just took that and remixed it by putting my music on it. That junk like hit 2.83, almost 3 million views. I get $25 for that. $25 for that.
Dang.
Like, I mean, I'm not saying they're not listening to the whole song. They're definitely not buying it. But for $25 for that, and then at that point, it's taken away because of whatever fees that Instagram or whatever had. I mean, it was like down to like $18 or something like that.
Oh yeah.
But that's my only experience with something of that high of a number being like, hey, this is what you got. And I don't know how, I'm not savvy enough to understand if that song is registered through and who I can pull that from publishing. You know what I'm saying? Does that go through publishing? If it does, how do I chase that now?
Yeah, it's a guy I can introduce you to that helps artists with stuff like that. Well, I mean, you could talk to him. I know he's had problems with people that had that didn't get all their like stuff with it, like if they're registered with ASCAP and BMI and they got stuff floating out there and they didn't get all their stuff. He's helped them. I haven't worked with him in that capacity, so I don't know. Right. So I mean, if something don't go right, don't I'm just letting you know.
Any kind of ideas or direction is good with that, because I honestly don't know, because when you get your reports, it just, some of those things you just say miscellaneous, or some of them just they change their names so much when it's on there that you don't really know what it is. And of course, if you've ever put out anything on DistroKid or TuneCore or anything like that, you see the list of like almost 100 outlets. So like, you don't know which one it is and which one's going to stop next week and which one's going to, you don't know, and who's going to change their name.
Yeah.
And exactly. you're at a loss at that point. But I mean, that's the nature of the beast. That's the game right now. It's like we said, damned if you do, damned if you don't with it. But it's super frustrating, especially like when you're hearing from like, bigger name folks. Like I know Katy Perry and Lady Gaga, both of them had a real big, a voice for something like this, because, of course, they make all their their sales off of the physicals, but like they're looking and saying like, look, this is how many streams we have, and we only getting this for it. Like, what's going on?
Yes. Dang, yeah, it's unfortunate. I'm going to get into some comments. Taliba, I'm glad you're still in school with us, even though you're not on the show right now per se. But I know she's also working on her music as well. So she's soaking up the wisdom.
Okay.
Shout out to Duty Designs, my brother Christopher Coleman.
Wow.
Anybody that needs any graphic design work, definitely hit up Duty Designs. Also recently released a comic book, a graphic novel. Masterpiece Publishing presents A Ghost Named Ray, which is available on MagCloud and Patreon. Go to patreon.com/Masterpiece Publishing to get the digital copies. Go to MagCloud and search it, because I don't know the direct link to get the physical copies. And Duty Designs created the visuals and the designs for it. I wrote the story, so definitely shout out to him. He says, "Yeah, wow. Yes. Ty, well, I'll talk to you about it, but he says, yeah, we need to find out how we can work, how we can better work the systems." Yeah. And I think also too, artists, they have to find out like more unconventional ways to make money from their art, because the traditional ways is you can't really make money that way anymore unless you're just doing a bunch of shows. And even then it's a lot of venues that don't want independent artists, like we talked about the other night, so it's really hard. It's really hard for artists to really just make money off the art itself. You have to do other things, if you want to, like doing a bunch of shows or become type of a personality type of act and just sell your brand. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that you cannot be just doing one one art. I mean, you if you want to, that's fine, but that's where that hobby realm lays into. You got to find something else art related that complements and supplements what you're passionate about. You know, that's why I got into videos, because really I just didn't have the money that people wanted for music videos. So I learned for the people that shot my music videos, invested in some equipment, and then just did it that way. And now I can, if I want to, I can make money, and I have made a living off of videos before in the past, and I could again. But that was something that I did in addition to it. And that's every time that I do something in addition to it, one of these things is going to help the other. So like people, you know, really need to understand the reality of the situation. And it never has to do with talent. Never. It never, like people that get stuck in like, I'm not making money because I'm not talented. No, that's not the case. It's never the case. The talent is not the issue. So really people need to reality check with that. Like Concord Mills, I was just there, and that place irks me to no end, because these people jump out at you and they're trying to sell you a CD. Yeah. So I ask, most of the time I just ignore them. But sometimes I ask, what else do you do? Tell me, what else do you do? And if they give me 3 or 4 different things that they're actually doing, then I'll buy that CD. But if that's all they're doing, I'm not going to put my money into their dream, because at that point it's a shit dream. It is. So like you have to have different hustles in this game. It's far gone are the days that we can be like, hey, I was with this company for 45 years and I retired from it, and this is like, those days are really gone. Like, unless you're working for the city, the government, school system, even school system now, like those things are like they're distant past. I mean, they're still there, but for the wide majority of people, that's it. And you got to have that mentality to, if that stuff is going at such a high turnover rate, so do this art, so does this business, so does my so does my work. And like, really, people get really high hopes and then they get really down deep depressed. And those are the things that we really have to start teaching people from an early age, somehow, some way. Like he said, working the systems and figuring it out, because there are ways. If somebody told me, for instance, about credit cards and shit like that when I was a teenager, I wouldn't still be having debt at this point in my life. So hopefully, that's the same kind of correlation with that, with art. It's kind of the same thing, where it's like, look, we knew what we made mistakes with before, and it's putting all our chips into one of these art forms is too much of a risk, and you're gonna burn out. You're gonna not be creative in the way that you want to be creative either, and you're just going to eventually just stop and just have so many insecurity problems with yourself, because you felt like you did something wrong when it's really not you. It's the whole scheme of things, and you not being in check with that reality. Instead, you in check with this fantasy world that we were living in when we were kids. When we were kids, we saw how the world was, and that's how we wanted to go. Well, that's human nature, but at some point you got to check out of that and check into the reality.
Exactly. And it's like that for all industries, not just you talked about that, but I was even other industries outside of just like also other art forms like comedy, like comedians. It's like now they doing podcasts, now they monetizing skits. They doing, the days of you just being a stand-up and thinking you're just going to go on to the night show, because even late night is not even the same anymore. It's like those days are over. If you want to make it as a comedian, unless you're doing shows every day, back to back to back, and then you even got to hit the chitlin circuit to really get your name out there. It's not the same.
It's not. I mean, and that's another double-edged sword. It's a gift and a curse. You can be pushed to do some things and really fall in love with other aspects of it. And then, like, you can graduate from one thing and go to another, and find that passion and joy that you found in that previous whatever you were doing previously, to make sure that you got that in something else. Because once you start hating something you used to love, you're gonna start hating yourself, man.
Mm-hmm. Man, that brings me back to something I said way back in the day, the conversation you and I had, when I used to do the shows at Jeff's Bucket Shop, right? And then I stopped. I had to stop doing them for a while, and I said, I just let y'all know, I was like, man, it feels like a chore now. Like I don't even get excited booking the shows. Like I love the music, love the talent. It's like a chore. I feel like, oh, I'm just getting up. Here's another show at Jeff's Bucket Shop. Let's go on ahead. I'm about to host it. And it just, so I started really resenting it. And it became like a snowball effect. And I started just not liking where I was at in my life with it and all that stuff. So it just kind of led to my first time trying to get out of it. But you know, I do want to say this: when you love something, y'all, you say fuck it, you figure out a way to do it. You go back to it. So my passion didn't lie, and it lied in all the other things we were doing around that, but just the shows, those continuous shows. But I still host events though. Yeah, y'all see that. So, but I just not what I was doing before, you know.
There's so much headaches with those, man. Like there's so much headaches, dude. And it's really, you know, me having, you know, we're talking now 15 years later. So like now we can, now I feel confident saying it with me putting on all kinds of other shows and events and things for the community and festivals and things, man. There is so much with the hip hop shows and you know, music shows, but hip hop shows and some of those hard rock shows were headaches, but man, there is so much, man. There is so much, you know, people use that cliche term about it's like middle school, but man, sometimes it is, dude. And people get so worked up over the smallest things, like what time they go on, how long that they have. And then they always want to push that. They want to push the envelope. They want to go further. They want to show up late. They want to leave early, which I've learned in my maturity. Leaving early is not necessarily the worst thing. If you don't want to be there, we don't want you there either. Exactly. You're just gonna make us all miserable. but I mean, it just, you know, it just really, because you know it's gonna happen. It's like, you know, watching it's like watching kids. You know, you're watching the kids, you know, there's going to be a certain point where the kid is going to put his finger in a socket. He's going to try it out. He's going to touch the stove. You know, that's, you know, it's going to happen. So when you're putting shows together, you're going to be like, which motherfucker is going to tell me that he needs 5 extra minutes or 10 other people on the guest list or yada, 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 what, you know, and it never fails, no matter how good and solid that show is put together, how tight the schedule is, how strong of a team that's putting this stuff together. It never fails. For instance, last year about this time, we had our, you know, a Sword Saturday just out of the blue because Seven the Panther was in town. He was doing his tour. He was doing his tour, and he, you know, him and AP were on the label for a while. He was doing his tour, needed a 336 place. Greensboro wasn't helping him out, so we had a place here in Asheboro called the OG's Sports Grill, and they were incredible. This OG's is an incredible place. They went above and beyond, like everything that we were just talking about last night, like about being shitty. They are the opposite. Like Oscar and his wife and his all his staff is great. I had this whole thing set up and I was like, everything was going well. I had my man T Fox help me plan it. He was going to host it. And then I ran into, about 2 months beforehand, I ran into like, what kind of DJ am I going to get? I don't know what kind of DJ I'm going to get. So we end up getting a DJ that worked with Eddie Ruger for some of his shows. I'm not going to put his DJ name out there, but anyway, you know, feeling confident, everything. The dude shows up. He doesn't have any microphone. I think he had one microphone for him. There was no speakers. Yeah, no speakers set up. And like, we're trying to like really come together and bring this together. And like, that was it took us over an hour to figure it out. I have a small PA system here. We did that. We had some other it took over an hour that time to get that situated. And that's just my most recent, hip hop show. When like all the way up until me checking in, everything felt so good. Everybody was on the same page. And we get in there, and then that mess happened. And all I had to I just had to keep the old Ty Bru could not come out. And I just kept on there was enough people around me that loved me and were just trying to calm me down. But I knew, we had 7, we had most of the FAMU was in the building. We had so many people that were relying on that set time, and they were actually they were there ready. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
We had to do so much of just rescheduling it, and that's really the epitome of what it is to put on a hip hop show in my experience. And I have a lot of experience in that stuff. It is a rare event when that shit goes like it should. It's a rare.
Yeah, and you know what? As you know, with you doing the shows, even when I was doing them at venues in Charlotte, the hip hop events, when everything goes right, you get no credit. But when everything goes wrong, you get all the blame. That was me.
You're absolutely right.
When I put them events together and it went according to plan, who is Jay Coleman? Who is that? I don't.
I remember like this give me an extreme flashback. I don't know if you remember this, but I remember one instance at the bucket shop where somebody blamed you for a show that you didn't even throw because they lost their microphone or a microphone stand, and it wasn't even the night you had booked the show, but they had just they wanted to come that night and blame you for their lost microphone or microphone stand.
Yeah, man,
I think you were like in Greensboro that night with us or something.
Oh my God, that's the kind of stuff that happened, man.
And we had to like forget the bouncer's name. He was so cool. Ben, was it Ben? You remember
the big yeah,
red hair
with the red hair, yeah.
He ended up dragging that dude up the stairs, but man. That was something else, man. That whole time was on fire though. Like the more I think about it, the more like I remember I have some very fond memories of Shadow and some very, very angry memories of Shadow.
Oh man, I remember when Shadow did that Halloween show and he was dressed as Spider-Man with the black symbiote suit. And he had just walked up and tapped me on the shoulder. Who the fuck is this? And he pulled up his mask and winked at me and put it back. Oh man, it was
that man. He does have some charisma, man.
Shout out to Shadow, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I have a lot of love for him. I think he's going through some rough times, man. So if y'all Queens QCHH watching this. Shout out to Shadow. Give him some love. Send some love his way. I know some people, that we did a lot of shows with around that time that we were family pretty much and going through some hard times, man. And it's hard to get on top of that, especially with somebody that I know he's been sober for a long time. Oh, yeah. He's been a motivation for me to slow down and things like that. But once you get dark in that area, and you're not doing that, you're either gonna tear yourself apart or go back to it. So, check on your peoples, y'all.
Yes, true indeed. Definitely. For everybody listening, y'all share, like, comment, get in the comments, say what you want to say, ask your questions. Ty Bru, he has a lot of knowledge. I know we reminiscing on stuff, but we got some new stuff to talk about too. So definitely jump in the comments. He can answer any questions. I'm gonna go through these comments as well. Click the love button, like button, share, do whatever. Shout out to Tiffany Silas. She says hi. Tiffany Silas, she does a lot of different. Yes. She also she makes beats, I believe, as well. So
nice.
Definitely.
Well, I'm constantly working on stuff, man. I'm juggling several albums at the same time this year. And I'm in the studio at least monthly. I was wanting to be in there twice a month, but it seems like I'm not writing as fast as I want to. But I am in album mode of sorts.
Definitely. We're gonna talk about the old music too, man.
Yeah.
Now this person right here, they're checking us out on Twitch. Duty Designs, if you're still listening, log into Twitch. I know you're an admin on there on my page. Delete these people with spam and trying to sell these bots. Definitely.
Man. Definitely. What's up, Jacob?
King Jacob. Are you familiar with King Jacob, correct?
Yeah.
Definitely. Shout out to King Jacob. Peace, fam. And I know you're familiar with this next comment right here.
Oh, man.
Shout out to Thanos, Ricky Tiki Taffy. I love these dudes. Coleman was a pioneer of promotion and shows in the music scene in the 2000s. Thank you for the flowers, man. That's high praise. I appreciate you for tuning in, man.
It is. He was, man, he is such a integral part to that whole story, man. Like, he is one of the ones that told me, like, I drive him back and forth. I make sure he get home every night. And sometimes he'd have to, like, pretty much knock me awake, man, because I don't know why, but I would get loose as hell and drive. Y'all knew that from the gate, man. I don't know how I survived. I think really Jarvis had helped that a lot. But anyway, the moral of that story is he would look at me and he would tell me to keep going. Don't listen to the naysayers. Especially he was familiar with how I would have to battle stuff here in Asheboro. Yes. And how small town mentality we have here. And it really wasn't until much later that I let people know my whole, my story, my family story. But like, he would just knew the battles that we would have to face here. And just been like, just you're bigger than you think. And he would say that almost every time I dropped him off. And that's really one of the only people besides my wife that ever, constantly cheered me on, like, vocally. I know a lot, and so many people that are always, that are cheering, but like vocally, he would always say that, like, when he dropped me off. And I've got like incredible story. I got incredible stories with him because I drove him up to Boone before when Scam Fam was like, we're doing our last album. Man, I have a lot of stories with him, and the only reason I met him was through you. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I'm glad y'all, everybody, man. Man. Yeah, it's like I said, thank y'all for both mentioning that, because when I've introduced many people to many people, it's not saying that the shout I'm leading up to a point, but like I said, going back to the promoting thing, when things go right, they don't remember. When things go wrong, they blame you. So like, yeah, I done plugged in a lot of different people. They don't remember where it came from. If the relationship is bad, man, fuck Jay. Jay's introduced you to this motherfucker. Yeah, so if you and Jarvis didn't hit it off, man, what y'all probably, man, why do that?
There is so many, like, with him, there's so many clear memories. A lot of people you have them hazy memories with, but I have clear memories. I also have clear memories of who you did introduce me to, because you put me on to Blaze. Actually, you put me on to Pete Worthy, and then Ruger had mentioned Blaze, and so did Seven mention Blaze, but then you actually physically put me, not physically, but you connected us formally. You know what I'm saying? And Blaze was like the first artist on the label that we were like, he was the first feature that was outside of Scam Fam. And, I have very clear memories of that and who helps me with that, who helps me set up with that. Because like I said last night, that's why I'm doing these festivals, is because, people that help me connect with other people, I want these people to connect too. And I have clear memories of you and crazy ballerina Jay.
Oh man.
I don't even know if we need to talk about that, but like this, like there's some clear memories. Y'all used to come down to Asheboro. I don't even really know what we were doing in Asheboro, maybe going to Greensboro that night or, you know, something. There was several times that y'all were down here. Clear memories, man, that just, you know, sit with me, you know, on bad days. And I just think about it, you know, and that was the core time of like the, you know, putting things together. And, you know, and really while we're talking about it, you said there's no way you can put an album out in this amount of time. And like,
hey, not to cut you off. I want to add to it. There's something that I've never cleared up with you, but I want to do it on the air because it's not no like we angry and nothing like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
But there was something I told Jarvis. He told you, but I'm glad he did because now you know. Because first of all, I'm gonna say the end of the story first. You made a believer out of me, Ty. You made me eat my words. But you know, we're all in our 20s. We're young. And I thought I knew everything, but you were stubborn in some ways too. You know, you're young, drinking, whatever. You know, so I thought I knew everything, right? And you told me what you wanted to do, and I was like, man, I don't think that's gonna work. And then I said to Jarvis, hey, you know what? I hope it don't work, so he can come back to me, so he can come listen to me. I hope he fails, and I didn't mean it like I want you to fail because you're my artist. You know what I mean? There's nothing in it for my artist to fail because if you win, we win. You know, you're my artist.
Right.
But I said that because I thought I knew everything, and I was like, well, he's gonna come back, and I'm gonna sit him down, and we're gonna plan it the right way, and we're gonna do it. And then you made a believer out of me, man, and that album was hot, and I wanted to put that out there, man. You know
that makes me feel like, you know, because at that point we could have, like you said, we're 20s too, and things hit different than it does now, and you know things like that might have. I think it just pushed me. It didn't really set me to be like, oh, like, you know, fuck Jay. There might have been some, you know, animosity, but like it never was like I'm gonna do this to spite him.
Yeah.
I would have done it to spite you. I would have taken your beats off of there. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't have had nothing. I wouldn't have had nothing to do with you. But I wanted you, like I wanted what we were talking about that project being, you know, and you were one of the ones that told me don't put on the brink, put on the brink. So that was like, you know, that was kind of like your idea anyway, to like take that slang off. And it was because remember we put out those samplers, it was always on the brink. And like
I don't know what
I think you were just like talking about like just, you know, how that could turn people off, you know what I'm saying? And that was a really smart move because like when you're looking at it from that moment on, like rarely do I have like that type of stuff in titles. Like today I put a song out, was a rare time. It's just like trying with the N, but rarely do I have that type of things in it just because of that conversation we had, because all along from when I was T Cutlass, it was on the brink, and that's how it was going to be. And then when we put it out, it was I decided, you know, I took that advice from you, and it was a smart piece of advice. And then, you know, it opened up something in me because then with the hardcore hip hop that came out after that, I wanted to do as much as I could without saying any cuss words, because that was another thing that you really told me about the, you know, not the industry per se, but just putting on stuff. You were like, look, you're going to hit a wider range of audience if you just refrain from this. And, you know, me being stubborn at the time, but I still listened to you. Me being stubborn at the time, like I always had a problem with somebody telling me to curb my cussing. I always did. So that chip was bent on my shoulder. It still kind of is, you know. And so like I still have that when my wife is trying to tell me not to say that in front of the kids, and I'm like, fuck you, don't do, you know. I'm just like, it comes back, it flashes back, because like, you know, it's my decision, you know what I'm saying? But like I understand how it can affect other people. But anyway, that's those little pieces of, you know, advice or direction that you gave me it all added up to become, really what was the future, and then dealing with the God City folks that you connected me with was a really big thing.
Hold on, Ty. Before you go into that, I wanted to also say something for the people listening. With the cursing thing, with that, I felt like we needed like a radio single. You know what I mean? Like something that we could get out, we could play, that could be universal. Well, you did say that, so we could hit wider people, so we could play them at the festivals and things like that, and something that could be played on the radio that we don't have to, because he had like a lot of the underground darker stuff. One of my favorite Ty Bru lyrics is, and I think I'm paraphrasing, I think I'm gonna get it wrong. I know Westford did the beat, is when I'm on the mics, it's not even a curse word. Oh, anyway, when I'm on the mics, son, I stay hell a bit. My trunk got something to spray like elephants.
Yep.
But before you get into God City, and I do want to get some more comments on here too.
My bad.
No, yeah, definitely. I want to say one of the advice I remember giving you, and you took it and you added it to your shows and stuff. Because when we were doing the shows at Jeff's Bucket, I don't even think it was Jeff's Bucket Shop. Actually, I think we was at somebody else's show. Like it might have been at Eric's or somebody. We were on or Journey or Monolix or somebody else did something, and we were there together, and we were watching the lineup. And I whispered to you, I said, "Man, everybody just rapping. You need to do something different, man. You need to put some props, or you need to do some kind of thing in your set to make it different." And you were like, "Okay, bet." And then after that, you had the show where you would stop and you would play like a skit, or you would do the thing with the water.
Yes. I completely forgot about that until just now. That was a specific phase in my career too. When you said that, I would act like it was a phone call, and somebody was calling my phone, and then it would be like, it would go to my voicemail, and it was like, "I'm sorry, I'm not here right now. I'm with whoever, the promoter of the show, and whoever was on the bill rocking. If you ain't here, then I'm not calling you back." And then it would go to the next song. And that was a specific point in my career that I did that no matter where I went. I mean, I would do that in Greensboro. I would do it with shows that you weren't involved with. I did it in China, bro. Like I was doing it in 2008 in China, did that. And that was part of my show. That makes me feel like I need to do that for the 20th anniversary show. Just do something like that. Because like that was unique. That was unique. And I remember from the Fire and Ice shows too, I would come from the one like all the way up in the balcony and then come down, rapping. They were like, "Who was rapping? There's nobody on stage." And just like there was a higher level of showmanship that I had then that I do now. I'd have a white towel on most of the time, do the water, the water. I'd have, if it was a crowd that I knew I didn't like. Remember, I used to have like a pocket full of pennies. Remember that? And the ones that, like, if it was Arizona Pete's or Green Street, because sometimes Green Street crowd was just shitty. It depended on if it was a college night or not. If it was our show, it was always good. But if they put us on a college night, sometimes, so I'd just take a whole handful of pennies and like throw them as hard as I could at the crowd. Like,
we still got Ricky Ticky Tavi on screen. We still got Jarvis. He told me about a time. I will say this. He told me about a time. I wasn't at this show, but he came back and told me you took a CD and threw it at somebody in the audience. I'm like, "Oh, why Ty do that?" You got mad because you had, I believe you had the one chemist with you, and they said something crazy about the one chemist, and you perked up. Who said that shit?
Yeah. They threw the CD and they threw some flyers back at us.
Oh, okay.
I think Chemist had went out there and he would always get the CDs out, and they said that, and I was and I took it out the sleeve, the little jacket, and I threw it, and it was like almost a bullseye. Hit dude right in the head and bounced and hit his homeboy. It was at Green Street. Damn. Yeah.
But we was in our 20s, man. We was in our 20s. Oh man.
That some of those days about ruined me and Ruger's relationship until he understood the what I was doing, like why I was doing it, man. I got in a couple fights up there, busted dudes' heads wide open. You know, and that was a really, and it wasn't like I went up to the bar trying to do that. It was like they were completely in the wrong, and that finally came out. But it was just like, you know, that was some times where like right now it doesn't matter if they're in the wrong or I'm in the wrong. I'm not going that route. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that was wild times, man. I think what really pumped the brakes on that was around the time we went to out in the Bay Area, California, and I was like, you know, there's a whole bigger world out here that we need to calm down just a little bit.
Yeah, yes, definitely, and rest in peace to Coolio. I know you you was opening act for a couple of shows too, you know, and that really started to blow things up, and also you working with PMD, and you open for PMD, yeah, well,
yeah,
so
we worked. I used to be able to call that dude up and talk to him. Every time he come to Greensboro, he holler at me. And then when I was working with Architect, he would always give me some knowledge about, you know, how to approach that situation. Cause, you know, really another thing, we're in our 20s. I was in my late 20s then, but like he was like, you don't need to be in that area. You don't need to be in Bushwick. You don't need to be in Brownsville. You don't need to be up there. No matter what they're doing, you don't need to be in Brownsville. And I was like, I'll do whatever, you know. And then finally just trying to look like, okay, this is a pioneer of hip hop. Listen to what he has to say. And he came out to one of the Red Bull events at the Inn Club. And I finally started, like, he took me to the side. He's like, don't do that again. If I hear you doing that again, I don't even want nothing to do with you. And I was like, all right, I won't be up there. And then like that brought a rift between me and the other cats from Hit Squad, but I was like, you know, I had to put that to bed because I understood at that point, you know, me and my wife went up there when we first got married, or we were newlyweds pretty much. I went up to New York, and then I was, you know, I was given that guilt trip. I mean, you up in New York, you ain't seeing nobody, you ain't coming out. I'm not taking my wife to Brownsville. No.
Yes, you gotta make sure your family's safe, you know.
Right.
Yes.
Lisa, what's up, Lisa?
Definitely shout out to Lisa Y. Sparrow. Thank you for tuning in. Oh yeah, Lisa's an author, and I know you have the hardcore, Heart's Core Art Store.
Yes.
Right? Now I gotta come up there, man. When I go to Asheboro again, I gotta check you out, man.
Yeah, please do.
Definitely. Do you do anything like that, like consignment with authors or anything like that?
Okay, let me try to give you yes and no. So we opened up our doors, like Small Business Saturday of that was when we opened our doors. We were a full, like we had our business hours and everything. Then a few months later, COVID hit and we shut completely down. So we're not like a business hours open all the time store anymore.
Oh, okay.
So, and plus us moving down here, so we do a lot of our pushing on, you know, online, of course, and just, you know, with the hopes of one day opening back up, but it just doesn't work right now. But like pretty much our store, we have a brick and mortar here, but that's more of just, you know, it's me editing. You know, I've got stuff, but it's not like an open store all the time. But across the street, I mean, I've got places that can hook you up with consignment for the authors. We can have events. You know, we can do certain things like that. Library, the library has like friends of the library.
Oh, you break up, Ty. What's that?
Okay.
Say it again.
I don't know.
Uh-oh. Yeah, the connection. Yeah, you said the connection will do that.
Yeah.
Okay, try again. I think it's good now.
Okay. All right. We just have to give it a second.
Okay, you can go. You can go.
Okay. But anyway, there's opportunities and options, and plus we've always had that literature part of Mightier Than the Sword that I would like to, you know, expand on. So definitely any kind of opportunities that we have with that, I would love her involved. We have authors come to the film festival, sit up on stage and talk about it. Sometimes they do readings. So that's something like with the film festival, we've been happy enough to do with, area artists, area authors. And they can set up they can set up a table, a booth, have their stuff out there.
Okay. Definitely. Her and her husband, they're in Ohio. They also, they're also my clients as well. So they're definitely if we could set something up, come on down and do some. And shout out to Wayne W.R. Franklin. He does speaking engagements and stuff too. So we could definitely set that up. And plus, if I can get my graphic novels and something too, man, that'll be.
Yeah. Well, I really, honestly, I can't lie. I had no idea about that. I had no idea. You like me. There's so many things that you do that it's really hard to keep up. So like, I need bullet points on what you got.
Yeah, exactly.
I need a novel of your work. Definitely.
I'll send you something after the show. Like a digital, so you can check it out.
Please do. Like, I mean, that's what this festival is. Much more than just a film festival. Like we want, because eventually a lot of books and novels turn into films. Who's going to sit there that's a filmmaker in that audience and listen to y'all talk about your stories, your book, saying like, oh, we could write a screenplay on that. Let's talk. I mean, it goes hand in hand. So we've had several authors at our first two film festivals, but right now, man, we're working on, fingers crossed to having an event on a monthly basis, not like our events, like something that's catered to exactly what we're talking about. Authors, people that have something, in their hands. Yes. That people want to read. And if they're from Ohio, we can have somebody represent them for the first little bit until we get a little following, and then get to make it make sense to them where they're not just showing up and nobody knows who they are. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Oh yeah. We're going to target them areas. So when they come, there'll be some people waiting,
Right.
Definitely. About me doing the graphic novels, I've been promoting it like in the Cave and other places, but like I say, I promote so much stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like
it is, man. It's hard. Like that's the things that I'm trying to learn myself, like where and how to promote my things. And then I just gotta, I gotta be reserved when I'm like, why didn't you hear about that? It was everywhere. No, it wasn't in their hand. It wasn't easy enough to access, if they don't know about it. So like, I've got to take a step back and be like, damn, like you didn't know that I had this event. Well, what did I do to restrict that? So like, I'm even right now, like just having to reinvent how to do that. You know what I'm saying? So like with this, with the First Friday fashion, like I'm having to like remind myself to remind people personally, like, hey, you said you wanted to be involved with this. Here it is, because I can post it up there and the algorithm do what it do.
Yes.
And that's the worst part of that. Just thinking the algorithm and then
it changes.
Yeah.
Because you can make stuff SEO friendly. I know a lot of SEO tricks and stuff, but it's always changing, and plus they got these other apps that's competing with Facebook and Instagram, like TikTok and Lemonade and all this stuff. So they change it up to try to compete with TikTok and them. So you always got to learn something new. And before we're going to get to God's City, because I know you're about to shout them out. But I want to get...
You're good. I think we, we didn't hit a lot on this, but that's all right.
Yeah. And we did it. Go ahead.
We knew it was going to happen. I'm trying to look at the list again, but we knew it was going to happen, man.
Yeah.
I think it's still very good.
Oh yes. I was telling my queen Tanya, before we got on the show, and I was saying I'm not bringing up old stuff. We're just gonna talk about the new stuff, Mightier than the Sword. All the I don't want, because we'll start getting into. I don't want to talk about the old stuff, and then here we start talking about memories and stuff like that. Is like you just got.
That'll set it up for people to understand that we got that chemistry, and we know each other well enough, and I think that'll get more people interested in whatever we doing. So
exactly,
I think we doing well, man.
Exactly, true indeed. I'm gonna breeze through some of these comments right quick because I know So I hope they still listen to. Yes, I'll do that. Okay, she's talking about the beats. So
Yeah, okay.
shout out to Tiffany Seiler. Yes. Okay. Yes. Same thing. Duty Design. Sorry, I'm okay. So he's in there getting the spam bots out of there on Twitch. For anybody that's on Facebook that want to follow on Twitch, it's twitchtv.com. Well, you're already looking at the show, but the future stuff, because there's some things that I'll be streaming exclusively on Twitch and not going to be on YouTube. Well, I mean, everything will go on YouTube because that's the bigger, but there's some things I'm not going to have on the Facebook because I just want the Twitch streamers to check it out. So like some nerd stuff and some gaming stuff and stuff like that. So if y'all are into that or old movies and stuff like that, so twitch.tv/The Media Blast for that. And also shout out to Thanos again. I remember an epic night with you and Jay. Now I got my own. I'm gonna let you, because I think he's talking about you, Ty. I got my own stuff about Jay Russell, but
yeah,
yeah.
I don't even like. There was, if it's the one he's talking about, there's one that I have that nobody was around but me and him. But I remember wanting to kill that man 5 or 6 times. Like, that's got to be one of the ones that the one that I remember that Jarvis was not around with was a night that we were coming back on 49, and we were coming through Denton, North Carolina. And do you know anything about Denton at all?
Not like, I mean, probably not what you're gonna tell me.
Yeah, I mean, it's heavily populated with the Klan, very heavily populated with the Klan. Yeah. And we're coming home at 2:00 in the morning, and that old truck just gave out on a hill and it broke down right in the middle of Denton. And I was like, dude, this is not the place to be breaking down. And I started having a full-fledged panic attack, trying to tell him and explain to him how he might get killed tonight. And he wants to walk up to the house that's closest by to knock on the door and try to get help. And I was like, they are not going to help you. Nobody in this area is going to help you. And he was trying to he was pushing me to just let him do it. And I had to physically try to, and he was a strong and just spry dude. You know what I'm saying? He was wiggling all kinds of shit, and I have bad knees, and I'm just get yourself back in this truck, man. And then finally I got my phone charged enough to where we could call a tow truck and got that tow truck to get us out. But man, that was a long hour, and we were I was sitting there I thought we were both gonna get killed. And that was the beginning of the end of that friendship, I think.
Wow. So you don't keep in touch with Jay and any of them?
No, my cousin does. My cousin does. I don't know. I wouldn't stop a conversation from happening. I wouldn't walk on the other side of the street if I saw him, but I'm not going out of my way to talk to him either. I mean, there was nothing really bad blood, but I know he did some people that I care about a lot bad, or they told me he did bad to him. So I'm just, leave it alone. Everybody got their own side of the story, but there comes a point where if you really do some people that I love dirty, that's, I distance myself.
That Jay Russell saga. Yeah, that yeah, man. I can't. That's all I'm gonna say. But there is something that but there's
something else just popped in my head too. It was when y'all were all at the house, at my parents' house, when I was still living at my parents' house, when I moved back home from China, and I had that year that I was living there, and y'all came, and I went to work, and that motherfucker went into my parents' cabinet and got that $1,000 Chinese tea that I brought home. I don't know if y'all remember.
I don't think I was at that one though. I think that might have been Jarvis and Jay. But
okay.
I don't think I was. I think I was done with him by that time when y'all was still kind of hanging. I was like, I'm out.
I had some really rare Chinese tea that I didn't buy it, but it was given to me and I was saving. And that man had brewed it all.
Oh wow.
And I was like, man, that'll stick with me for a while. I probably would have still drank it though. I mean, it probably was still
yeah, just to have it as yeah. And it's your shit though. What you Damn.
Oh man.
Oh man, memories.
Yeah. Well, it's good. I mean, we need people need to understand. People need this. We need to give them a history lesson in the memories that we've had together because so many times people just see the pictures and that's it. But like this is our opportunity to tell people, the behind the scenes.
Yes.
And it's our right to do it.
Oh yes, exactly. What's up? There's W.R. Franklin. Definitely shout out to him. Lisa Sparrow's husband.
Okay.
So yeah, we were just talking about him. They tuning in. Thanos, the streets were definitely strangled. And now,
yes.
that was that thing I used to say all the time. We strangled the streets. Yeah. Coleman introduced me to Bru at Jeff's Bucket Shop. We laughed all night. And I want to tell everybody how we got in, how you and I got introduced. It was through an artist I was working with at the time named Black Diamond. And and I was promoting them on MySpace. And then that's how you and I got connected. And then I added you to my I'm about to call it the media blast. It wasn't the media blast yet, but it was the blast, that giant blast that I had the email list that kicked off a lot of stuff, and you were getting the email alerts, and and I tried to get you as a client then, and you weren't ready yet, and then you had seen the me doing the stuff with Catch More Kids out in the community, and then that made you say, you know what, this dude, he does stuff in the community that makes me want to get to know him even more, and then I remember you telling me when you saw that photo of me, Blaze Belushi, Black Diamond, I think Aaron Tracy and Scott Blackwood and all of them, Mr. Invisible, all of them, believe Thanos was in it, Yada, Sham Grammar, and Blaze Belushi was at the top. Blaze Belushi was at the top of the stairs. And that photo that we all took at Jeff's Bucket Shop, when you saw that, you was like, I got to go to Charlotte. I got to go to Charlotte and meet these dudes,
Yep.
And I still remember, and I remember when we finally met. You told me that, and it was on from there.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm mistaken or not, but the first show I don't know if I was a client yet or I just was, but the first show you booked me on was like an hour and a half set. Do you remember? It was with Mr. Invisible, GU $, and wow, what was Bearcat and Ricky's name?
Bearcat and Ricky. It was called? They were from what Pins and Needles? No, that's not. No.
Same era. It was
same era.
Eyes of the Elders.
Oh yes, Ricky Radar, and Bearcat. Okay, I forgot that was his name. Yeah.
You put me, because they were all doing an hour. They were doing long sets, and you were like, I don't know if I don't know. I think that was part of the deal. Like if he can do an hour set, then you could book him. But I remember that and being like, damn, this is going to be a long night, but I did it.
I think that was the first one.
It was either the first one or the first one that wasn't your show.
I think the first time I booked you was actually, you remember Shabone, was it? That he did. No.
He was on.
He was there.
Okay.
He was there. It wasn't his show. The first one I booked you weren't a client yet. That's right. But I had the set booked. I had the set already mapped out, and you weren't on it. And you said, "Man, I just came all the way from Asheboro, man." I was like, "Nah." But you stayed to enjoy yourself. You just came to watch and be just a fan of the music, fan of the atmosphere. And then at the end, I said, "You know what? Y'all want to hear one more?" And I said, then I put you on because you said you were ready. Yeah. I remember it now. You said, yeah. And then
I had the CD. That's what.
Yeah, you had it because you said, just in case. I'm ready. I said, no. You good.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
I think that's when I met. Was Silky Jones there that night? Maybe
I believe Silky Jones was on that bill. I believe so, because there was a lot of people. Silky Jones, I believe Sham Grammar.
Yeah,
Sham
I miss those days a whole lot, man.
Oh yes.
Dang,
man. No, dropped your dang.
I dropped one of those little mini cards that came out of here.
Oh,
I hope I don't step. If I step on it, it's gonna be done.
No, we don't want to do that. Did you say ballerina Jay? Yeah, that's Jay Russell.
Yeah.
He's the guy that gave the tickets for us to see the thing at the Blumenthal. The Lion King, whatever it was they were doing, some African dance shit. Yeah. Well, shout out to my cousin C Mac that was watching on YouTube. Definitely. You actually met C Mac as well.
Yeah,
we did. Yeah, you remember C Mac at Salam Restaurant and Bar that was on Monroe Road. Yeah.
Was it his name Casey or
Casey?
Is his name Casey or just C?
Who we talking about?
C Mac.
Oh, Creighton.
Okay.
Creighton.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, I knew it wasn't just C. So
when this is but you remember the
So that place is right near the Bojangles Coliseum, right?
Yes, it's like down, like a little down from it. Yeah.
Because every time, me and my wife go to the Christmas show that they do there. They have crafts and all kinds of stuff. Mm-hmm. And every time it'll take us out there, I've performed there several times. Right beside the laundromat.
Yes. Me and my queen had a picnic in the Chantilly Park. And and as we was going down Monroe, I pointed over there. I did an event. I used to do events over there. It's called Salam Restaurant. Told her the history because Charlotte had changed so many times. There's new stuff built and new.
Yeah, I remember and I also say this stuff too from one of those nights. It was in the early stages of them making the transportation in the middle of the road.
Mm-hmm.
So and I remember driving I got stuck in the middle of there. I don't know how I did. The truck was in there and they had all those, those cones and stuff that are in the cement, all the way down. I'm sitting there. I'm like, thankfully it was 2 a.m. There was no buses running, but that scared the hell out of me.
Man, dang, the risk we take, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
he's a screenwriter. That's what's up.
He's a screenwriter as well. Yes. Definitely link up. So,
where's he living at?
Oh, he's in Ohio.
Okay.
Yes. I know it's a lot of comments. I want to make sure everybody at least heard. The work rate of everyone from Ty Chemist and Company was really special. Yes. I'm the man again, acting like you're. Oh, yes, that's one of your lyrics. Definitely. Pete Worthy himself on stage. Shout out to Pete Worthy. Bru was salt and face. Yeah. Oh, it was back early in the conversation. He threw those. He's like ninja stars. Oh man. Oh man.
Oh man.
Yes. Shout out Valora.
What's up?
Yes, definitely. Thank you for joining. She's a gospel singer.
Nice.
My first time on. Thank you for joining us. Definitely thank you. Lisa Sparrow says she's interested. So whatever we were talking about back then, she said she wanted to do it. She's down. Yes, man. Dang, it's just there's some. Well, actually, man, we stayed on way longer than I. But it's going to be like.
Yeah, I'm good with it. And I'm good with going ahead and doing it again next month or whatever, next couple of weeks, just to keep it fresh and going, man.
Yes, because go ahead, man. I was going to say yes because I wanted to. like kind of build it up to the 20th anniversary, you know, have you on and still talk about like the festivals and stuff. I believe next time, since we got all the old stuff, a lot of the old stuff out of the way, we could talk about the more stuff, because it's been a minute, man. And there's something I guess it's old to talk about it now. When we talked about the venues, you know, here in the place where how they really not cooperative with independent artists like that. And there's something that I got to clear up, like with the people that's listening, even if it's just you and Thanos, and only y'all know it, and it's something that bothered me. It's not a big deal anymore. You know, but back then it bothered me. It was the thing with the thought criminals and Kermit, Michael Keel, and all of them. We had that night at SKNet Cafe, and it made me so mad, because this is not how the shit happened. But you know how the way Kermit believes it happened is not how it happened, you know.
Okay.
So before the night got shut down, I actually saved it before it got shut down, because they didn't want to do anything on that night we had. You know, they were like, let's turn off the lights. You know, it's not even, you know, it's not making us no money. Why keep this thing running between these bad hours if we're not bringing in people, if we're not making any money at the bar, we're not selling any items, any food? It doesn't make any sense. And, you know, that was my thing. My thing was to talk to the old, like the venues who had like the off nights and stuff. That's how I ended up getting Jeff's Bucket Shop, and I blew up. I said, let me take your off night. Let me take your bad hours, and I will bring people in and I made deals with them. And they were like, okay, I will give it a shot, because we're already closed. So if you want to do your little hip hop show here, go ahead and do it. For all you young generation people who want to pick up some tricks, that's one of my tricks. I used to talk to the venues and do that. So we did it with SKNet Cafe, and we took a bad night, and we did the poetry night, and you came out to the poetry night, and shout out to all the local poets, and it was popping for a while. But the thing is, we were making money, or whatever, however it has the headliner, me as the promoter, but the venue wasn't making money. No, because nobody was buying anything. Nobody was.
Was there alcohol there at that point? I don't even remember.
They ended up selling alcohol a little later. I know at the beginning they had they just had the snacks and the waters,
right.
You know, but it ended up coming later. Got me second guessing my own. No, the bigger part of this. So he'd been wanting to shut that night down for a while, and I begged and pleaded with him to keep it open, because we wanted to keep doing our thing. And then every time I hosted, I would always shout out they got food, they got specials, they got snacks, get something so we can stay there. You know what I'm saying? And so and then the Thought Criminals came along, the band, who was the house band, and although I was salty about how things ended up going, I do thank Kermit for coming down from Kannapolis to play, and it wasn't really anything being made for them like that. So Kermit and the band kept getting frustrated, and people are falling off. People are just because this is a Jonathan thing, but it's therapy. This is therapy for me. They wanted to finally get rid of the night, and Kermit was frustrated on his end. So I said, okay, I'm going to give this one more shot, because they're giving me one more shot to do this. So I had a meeting with him and his wife, the guy that owned it, Ken, because he also owned Lava and the Spot. Yeah. Not the Spot. You know that whole little circle. He owned that whole.
It was
block.
the Fire and Ice Nights, Lava and something. It was connected.
There's something else I forget, but you remember.
Yeah.
So I came in there with a big presentation, because you know me, I used to have those little binders with the stuff showing people and this is why you need to keep the night open. They listened to me, Mr. Coleman. They pulled out a big spreadsheet with all the money that they were losing fucking with us.
Okay.
Yeah, they said this is why we have to shut this down, because we're losing money keeping this open. You know, the bills are this. This is how much we're not making. It's business, nothing else. So I couldn't argue with numbers because he let me, and so I took it back to the thought criminals, and their perception of it was that I went in there and I just like, oh, sir, can you help us? I don't know what I'm doing. And, you know, and he told it his whole perception of it was that I went in there and didn't know how to talk.
Was he in the room with you? Or
it was not in the room, not there. It was not, it was me by myself in them. And that made me mad.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah. And that made me so mad because I felt like that was like the beginning of the snowball downward with a lot of stuff. Because I felt like
I didn't know that, man. I didn't really know the extremities of that and like how it was being talked about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it just and I said all that, and half the people involved probably don't even remember that.
I remember the night being done, like that night was stopped, and you know, honestly, I didn't know how much it affected the parties involved because, like, you know, me, I keep it moving, and I assumed you would too.
Yeah,
I just didn't know it affected you like that. So,
yeah,
brother, like clearing the air is a good thing, man.
Yeah, and I was real salty about that, man, because that's not the things that Michael Kill were saying. That was not true, you know, for him to, you know, and he himself probably don't even remember it. That's fine if he doesn't, but that was one of those things that bothered me back then, and I'm glad to finally just say it, and now I can go to bed. Now I've been going to bed. It's not like it's not like I'm wishing, you know, like I'm holding a grudge like a supervillain. But I just because I had to as a therapy, I had to say that.
Yeah, there's some things that, you know, it takes time to even put out there in the world, and you need to do it. And like I just had an experience like that last week when I linked back up with Tenacious at his house. I hadn't been at his house in like 4 or 5 years, and was just able to, you know, clear the air and get that out there. He kind of did the same. And I mean, it's, you know, we both didn't remember how it went down. But it's time, you know, this is time to do it.
Yeah.
Time to let the world know, man. Let the world know, man. I'm glad you got it off your chest, brother.
Yeah. 20th anniversary in May.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's gonna be a good event. We're gonna have some fun, and hopefully get Jonathan Coleman down here, and you hip hop people gonna break in here and murder my family.
Oh man, I know did you know who he's talking about before I say it?
I don't, but I could probably be reminded pretty quickly.
What's that guy's name? Cali Cat? No. Somebody, you know, the me getting blamed for the Mike story. I know that was something else, but something did happen at Salam Restaurant and Bar. This is when it wasn't called Salam then. Is when the Jamaicans took over, because it was the Indians, and then the Jamaicans took over, and I was DJing there for a while, and One Chemist and Ike Turner and all those guys used to come there, and of course you and Jarvis probably remember more of the story than I do, but something got taken there. And again, since you know, when things go bad, they're gonna look at the promoter, and I'm bringing these rappers in there, and somebody done did something janky, and Jarvis remembered what the Jamaican guy was like. Jamaica was like, "Oh no, I don't want no hip hop peoples there. They come in and come in and murder my whole family, take my whole like he's all this crazy shit." Jarvis can remember the story better than me, but the guy was freaking out.
Oh man, some stories, dude.
Just good times.
Yeah. Well, yeah, man. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate Thanos for getting on here. Jarvis, Ricky Ticky Tarvey. A reunion is definitely in the cards, man. A reunion's definitely in the cards. So let's link that up soon, man. I appreciate you for having me on, and it's been a great time. I didn't even know it was an hour and a half, really.
Yeah, man, just catching up. It was supposed to be 30 minutes, and it turned into an hour and 30. But
good.
Yes,
We're good. We'll keep it up, man. We'll plan something again and then get part 2, part 3 out there. Just, this is probably the best way to give some history anyway than it is how I was going to do it. So just getting on here because a lot of it, and we'll definitely stick to the 20th next time. Yes. And just talking about that because that's we're gonna blink and it's gonna be here. So
yes, and definitely, man, I'm glad to be a part of that history, and also just glad to be a part of history, man. Is there anything you want to plug? Anything that we didn't mention that you want to mention now? Any shout outs? Any links?
Yeah, the shout out definitely Cannibal Comedian. I'm gonna say that again. It's a movie that came out last month on Screenbox. So we'll give you the link so you can put it in there. It's on Amazon Prime. That's how a lot of people get their stuff if they want to rent it. It's a comedy horror. I met these guys in LA or in 2023. It was their world premiere. I watched it and fell in love with it, and then fell in love with the whole cast and crew, the community that they represent and what they do. So I'm promoting that right now, just trying to help them get that out there because their next plan is to shoot their next feature here in and around Asheboro. So the more people get familiar with that, the more when we get these casting calls out there, you're going to be more excited to join up or be a part of that. And I'm just talking with everybody to get this working in like work in progress. We're talking with the film commissioner. We're talking with the Chamber of Commerce on a regular basis, trying to make sure we can get this filmed here in Asheboro. So that's it. Besides that, we definitely want to see everybody out at the 20th anniversary of Mightier than the Sword at the Sunset Theater in downtown Asheboro, May 23rd, 24th, and 25th. That's Friday through Sunday. We're going to be filming a documentary during some of the process. We're going to have performances. We're going to have networking opportunities, speakers showing films. Some of the films that we weren't able to show in January for the film festival because of weather has got postponed to that Sunday. So we'll have a lot of films shown on that Sunday. A lot of opportunities for you guys to come out and meet some people from the area that are in the films and around. So yeah, that being said, that's it for right now. There's a lot going on. There's a lot always going on. Just follow me on IG, Live by Code. Join that channel. IG has a channel now, so like join that channel. That's where I put everything. I put something there every day, and a lot of it's exclusive type stuff. So I appreciate you, Jay Coleman, a lot, man.
Definitely, I appreciate you as well, Ty. Man, thank you for being here, and thank you for your time. All right, yes. For everybody. Yes, for everybody listening, you don't have to go home, but you got to get off this thing. Good night.